Hello and welcome to Quarterlight, your car brochure channel, and in today's episode we're going to be looking at the Colt Galant. Hello and welcome back to Quarterlight. Now if you're new to Quarterlight, we're a car brochure channel here on YouTube, looking at car brochures from around the world for the 60s, 70s, 80s and 90s and sometimes beyond that as well. So if you're interested in cars, car brochures, looking back on cars gone by, then please do consider subscribing. Now back to today's episode. Last few weeks on a Wednesday we've been looking at the Mitsubishi or Colt Lancer. We're now up to the Galant, or a larger vehicle. I particularly like the Galant in this version in the 70s, so let's throw it on the board and have a look at it now. So here it is, the Galant, the Colt Galant, because this is a UK brochure, although we can see a little Mitsubishi symbol down there. Similar to the Lancers, we're going to split it up. So with the Lancers we looked at the 1400s first, then the 1600s. With the Galant we're going to look at the 1600s, and then next week we'll have a look at the big 2000 or 2 litre version. It says at the bottom here, Colt, a new breed of car, Colt Galant 1600, and there is a little bit of a dealer stamp as well. H. Duffield and Son Limited, Fulford, York. You see there, Colt main dealer, although in the corner we do have that Mitsubishi Motors Corporation and badge there as well. I do think these are good looking cars in the 70s though. I particularly like it in this metallic green, typical Japanese wheel trims of the period. I kind of like either that love it or hate it look. This particular brochure is from August 1974. So we open this brochure up. He's got some pretty good images on there, but I think the main problem, I should say, with this particular brochure is it doesn't really separate the models out. I think this is really going to be a better brochure to look at, which has still got these images in, but makes a little bit more logical sense when you look through it. Colt Galant, Colt, a new breed of car. Of course, little Colt badge. Like I said, this model was known by different things in different countries, I guess. I always say they call it the Colt in the UK because I don't think we thought we could get a mouse around Mitsubishi, but that was like a European thing. I think we call it the Colt Galant throughout Europe and in other countries, like it was called the Chrysler Valiant Galant and the Dodge Colt and even the Mitsubishi Colt Galant. So it was certainly a car known by many different names at this particular time. I do like this era of them. This particular brochure has also got exactly the same date on it, August 1974. And when we open this brochure out, it makes a bit more logical sense, you could say. Still showing that green Galant that we saw on the front cover of the first brochure though. Saying at the bottom here, clean, uncluttered lines and an all-round feeling of quality. Starting with the 1600 DL, DL meaning at this time Deluxe. Let's read the text and we'll come back to these nice images. So it starts by telling us, simple, sensible, solid. The Colt Galant 1600 Saloon is first and foremost a supremely logical car, built around a tradition of uncompromising quality. Styled for performance and safety as well as beauty, Colt Galant's long, sleek aerodynamic lines cut down air resistance. Lower air resistance means reduced high-speed front-end lift, which translates into superior driving stability, higher performance characteristics and improved fuel economy. What's more, the distinctive noseline greatly enhances safety or passenger safety by improving front-end collision impact absorption and by expanding the driver's forward field of vision. But there's only one way to truly appreciate the Colt Galant. That's to get inside, where you can feel the roominess and comfort so painstakingly engineered into the car from the ground up. In the Colt Galant, you don't just see quality, you feel it. And like I say, this main image is that same picture that we got on the front cover of that main brochure, telling us it was a 1600 DL shown there. Zoomed in a little bit to have a look at that detail on the grille, which is very interesting, and the twin headlights and the chrome bumper. I think overall for 1974 actually this looks pretty advanced really. Yes, we've got the typical Japanese wheel covers that we remember mainly for the Datsuns of their time, if I can manage to tune that in. There we go, very unusual wheel trims for the deluxe model. And then a little badge on the side here, if I can just zoom in and make that clear. We can see the little Galant badge and then that deluxe badge on there as well. Then we get a rear look of this model as well in, looks like maybe a metallic and blue colour. Quite modern colours actually for the time. You think of these colours more of like early 80s. We can certainly see those rear tail lights. Interesting design again, an interesting rear bumper design as well, but this one is at speed, so we can't tune it in too clearly. There is some interior shots as well. Firstly, giving an example how much room there is in the trunk or boot. The interior, quite modern, but it is quite simple as well. I mean, there's no rev counter at all on this particular version. And then a look on the inside, lots of black. It's quite a dark, somber interior, but at least we've got a headrest, and this is 74, remember. We've even got a tilt adjustable steering wheel, and the very familiar sort of multi-function lever. This looks like the wipers and the washers for the light wipers as well. When we turn the page though, we do find out that's not the only model in the range at this time for the 1600s. There's also this, the GL hardtop, so a higher spec model with more extras, but also a two-door that's actually a really nice design. Let's have a look at the text where it says, a snappy road hugger that keeps the bumps outside where they belong. Let's read these texts and then we'll come back to these images. It tells us with its swept back windscreen, long low noseline and forward canted rear end, the Colt Galant 1600 hardtop has a dynamic air of movement even when at rest. One glance tells you that this is a thoroughbred, a car that belongs to the road, but even as it leaps out to take on the most punishing roads, you can relax inside in smooth, fresh comfort, because the Colt Galant has an unmatched road gripping stability that keeps the road outside and keeps you pampered inside, sitting in fully reclining body contoured bucket seats, surrounded by plush upholstery, thick loop carpeting and lots of fresh air from Colt Galant's unique all-weather flow-through ventilation system. Wide body styling and convex windows give you plenty of room to move around, and a tilt adjustable steering wheel allows you to position yourself for maximum driving comfort. In every Colt Galant, unparalleled driving pleasure is standard equipment. So there is a better look at how those taillights looks, but of course this time it's the hardtop. Quite a nice design actually for the hardtop version. I particularly like the doors, how they're frameless, and you can even drop that rear tiny window by the looks of it to make a very interesting looking car. The badge instead of deluxe now says GL, of course. We do also get a different wheel trim, which I actually think I do prefer. Inside at first glance doesn't look much different, but if you notice the seats are more of a two-tone colour. I'm thinking the innermost part looks like it's probably cloth, which is nicer of course. And then when you look inside it looks nicer as well. We've got this sort of like wood or fake wood. I'm not exactly sure of the material, but it looks like wood. Where the clock is now was actually just like a blanking clock on the lower spec model, although interestingly they didn't decide to put a rev counter there, which is surprising. And then moving down it gives you a better look at that clock. 4-speed synchromesh gearbox, the heater and defroster, and this little image showing we've got reclining seats. We do also get the 2 litres as well, which have got a more of a sporty look, so we'll certainly have a look at those next week. But there is one more model in the 1600s, and that's the Estate, so the 1600 DL or Deluxe Estate, and for the family, a car for all reasons. So we'll look at the text and come back to the images of what is, I'm sure, a pretty rare car today. It tells us the Colt Galant 1600 Estate boasts all the comfort features of the saloon with one big plus: space. Space for a house full of kids and a room full of luggage all at the same time. Versatility is what the Colt Galant Estate is all about. Versatility with comfort. It's great for knocking about the shops in town, and even better on long distance trips. When the hour gets late, you can simply fold the back seat down and let the kids stretch out and go to sleep. So this was more of a 60s thing, although you do sometimes see this in the 70s as well. This idea of sleeping in the car, of course. If you fold the seats down and let the kids stretch out to go to sleep, obviously that's not really a safe thing to do. The Colt Galant Estate isn't just for people, it's also good for carrying things. With the back seat up, the rear luggage compartment measures a capacious 945mm. With the back seat down, you get a full 1570mm. Whatever your requirements, people, things or both, the Colt Galant Estate is the car for you. Reminding us this is the Deluxe. No rear wash white, but I don't know if we would really expect that at this time. Although we do get a locking fuel flap, which is quite nice. Interesting how they've done the rear. I like how they've done the taillights with that sort of bright work around them, and almost like a little bit of a strip of some kind of fake wood looking material, which actually I quite like. A look at that interior, and yeah, we're back to all the black, and I'm sure it's vinyl and would be crazy hot in summer, but yeah, at least it's got headrests, and look like they're quite forward thinking headrests too. We get a tiny look at the front end, a tiny image showing how much space there is inside with that rear seat folded forward, and then your typical brochure image for estates and wagons at this time and even later, showing your space with the seat up and the space with the seat folded back. The specifications, I've decided to go back to our original brochure because it shows up a little bit better on camera. So the 1600 engine, so we'll work our way around this sheet, starting with the engine and then come to the major equipment, and then we'll move on to the prices. So we started with this little bit of an image of the engine bay for the 1600, and a little bit of a power curve, I guess. And then it goes on to tell us the 1600cc engine, the 100 horsepower, 6300 RPM 1600cc engine delivers 14.0 kgm or 101.2 foot-pounds, maximum torque at 4000 RPM. Powerful yet light and quiet, the 1600 features sharp, precise response with just the right amount of power at low and high speeds alike. High efficiency hemispherical combustion chambers deliver maximum fuel combustion, resulting not only in greater fuel economy but also in remarkably clean exhaust emissions. Exhaust pollution is reduced or further reduced by such measures as recombustion by blow-by gases. We also get impact collapsible steering column. Colt Galant's impact collapsible steering column, standard on all models, is an important safety feature. In the event of collision, it instantly compresses to absorb the force of impact, thus helping to prevent serious chest injuries. and we do get a little bit of a diagram and to show how that compresses. We get a diagram of the front and rear suspension, and it goes into the description from that, telling you a unique double support front strut suspension makes for a smooth, comfortable ride over even the roughest road surfaces, and gives Colt Galant superlative cornering ability. In the rear, a combination of double leaf springs and cylindrical shock absorbers ensures that the full engine power is transmitted to the rear wheels without slippage, while isolating driver and passengers from road irregularities. Tandem master cylinder is also standard. The brakes, big capacity power assisted front disc brakes with pressure control valve, made for guaranteed smooth stopping without fade, whatever the speed or road conditions. Rear drum brakes feature a leading trailing shoe design. Tandem master cylinder is also standard. And then we get some little images showing the front and rear brakes. And some nice little drawings showing the power assist unit and the tandem master cylinder. Then it lists the major equipment. So ST will be standard, OP would be optional, and NA of course not available, showing both the DL and the GL hardtop. It's even showing the model codes on there as well, interestingly. So we get a standard tilt steering wheel on the DL. Little arrow means we also get that on the GL. So collapsible column with steering lock on them both. Optional radio on them both. We get a clock, optional for the base model and standard on the GL. Trip odometer, standard on both. Cigarette lighter, standard on them both. Wood grain instrument panel, not available on the base model, but we get it on the GL. Through floor ventilation system, standard on both. Looks like we also get a booster fan for the GL version. We get a floor console box, not available for the base, standard on the higher model, and dual sun visors on them both. We also get reclining bucket seats with head restraints on both, which I think is a nice thing to have even on that base model. Seat belts, standard on both. Walk-in system, not available on the base model, standard on the higher model. Cloth with vinyl seats trim, not available for the base model. That would have been all vinyl, no doubt. The GL, of course, had that little bit of cloth in the centre. Loop pile carpeting on them both. Passenger assist grips on them both. Tinted glass, all windows, standard on the higher model, optional on the lower model. We also get 2-speed washer wipers, standard on both. We also get an electric rear window defogger, optional on the base one, standard on the higher model. And then this looks like all standard on them both. So a heater defroster with 3-speed fan, standard on them all. Wheel covers, standard on them all, although there is a different look to them. Radial ply tyres, standard on both, and a toolkit, standard on both. Then we get the specifications in this very little tiny writing. Starts talking about the dimensions and height, moves on to the performance, telling us a maximum speed of 100 miles per hour. Unusually doing the acceleration as a 0 to quarter mile, which is 18.4. Electrical system, of course, 12 volt. Transmission is a manual 4-speed synchromesh, floor mounted. And then it ends by telling us about the tyres and the capacities. And this particular brochure ends again with that dealer stamp in York. That then takes us to the price list. Again, for 1974, we looked at the Lancers, of course, last week. Prices for the Lancer starting at $13.99, going all the way up to the $17.47 for the 1600 Sport. But for the Galant, those prices go up, although quite surprisingly I think there isn't much of a price difference between the 1600 two-door Sports. In fact, the base 4-door saloon Galant is actually a little bit cheaper at $16.98. 2-door hardtop is £1,799 and the 1600 estate is £1,850. And like last week, it's showing you factory fitted extras that you could have. Things like sports road wheels for £9.98, a radio £44.10. Although a lot of that equipment, the model that we looked at today, would have had those on as well. One thing I didn't show you about this particular brochure, there is an unusual little bit of an image there, and the tagline for the time, Colt, a tough new breed of car. So there we go, the Colt or Mitsubishi Galants in the 70s. I do like this style of car. I do like them. I think possibly this might be my favourite era of these particular cars. I like the styling. Next week, looking at the 2000s, and they look a bit more sporty. They've got sports steering wheels, etc. on there. So that's an interesting one. Probably my favourites of them all. But thank you so much for watching today. If you've not done already, please do consider subscribing. It is all completely free. We'll end with this lovely image. I'm going to have a couple of boxes on here for the rest of the Mitsubishis that we looked at already, which will be the Lancers, and eventually the full series of these 4 Mitsubishis or Colts will be seen all in one place. But thank you so much for watching today. Please do come back again soon. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.